2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this Friday night. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. The water advisory for Crow Agency now lifted, but with warnings.
The good news came late today with the second round of tests from the Crow Tribe's water treatment plant revealed no contamination.
Those results come after the facility was vandalized with gunshots and fire this past Wednesday. The first round of tests on Thursday came back inconclusive.
Crow Agency, however, is not free and clear. Residents are being told to flush all of their water lines before using water. The tribe is also asking residents to conserve water because only one of the two treatment plants is online tonight. That's because vandals fired gunshots and equipment and computers used to monitor the water quality. Now, whoever's responsible for the nearly $1 million in estimated damage also tried to set fire to the concrete building. Crow tribal schools were canceled yesterday and today due to the water issue. Authorities are not saying if any suspects are in custody. Flames ripped through the former Sweetgrass County High School early this morning. It took fire crews 5 hours to get the blaze under control.
Tonight, we're told a fire investigator is on scene, but entering that 112-year-old building is still too dangerous. Now, these photos posted to the Big Timber Buzz Facebook page show the building engulfed in flames early this morning. Big Timber volunteer firefighters were mopping up hot spots just after noon today. An investigator from the Montana State Fire Marshal's office will now conduct the initial investigation into what caused the fire.
Big Timber Fire Chief Chris Novotny said the investigation is in the preliminary stages and that it is not safe for investigators to enter the shell of the building. The roof has collapsed on the majority of the 3-story brick building, which has stood vacant for more than 30 years. Chief Novotny said the adjacent Carnegie Public Library and nearby homes took in some smoke, but otherwise were not damaged by the fire. There's still no official word on the cause of that fire. The former school was built in 1905.
As many as 80 jobs could be lost at the Signal Peak coal mine near Roundup unless a federal appeals court decides otherwise. At stake is Signal Peak Energy's expansion at its big underground coal mine in the Bull Mountains. This past August, U.S. District Judge Don Malloy put those plans on hold, ruling that the Federal Office of Surface Mining did not consider the climate change impacts of the mine's 176 million ton expansion. Today, Signal Peak attorneys asked the appeals court to reverse Judge Malloy's decision.
Well, we're trying to do everything that we can to avoid layoffs of our workforce. The judge's ruling has put jobs in jeopardy, and we're trying to convince the court that that's not necessary and that we can comply with the court's order without laying people off if they'll listen to what we have to say.
Now, Dawson says without a favorable ruling from the appeals court, 30 workers will lose their jobs at the end of October. Another 50 jobs would likely be cut by the end of next March. Dawson says time is of the essence, saying that the clock is running.
Montana Senator Jon Tester reporting today another $1.2 million raised for his 2018 re-election campaign. And he already has a bunch in the bank. Tester, a Democrat, has $5.4 million in his campaign account. That's more than a year ahead of this election. Tester, who is running for a third consecutive term in the U.S. Senate, says 91% of his contributions have been $100 or less. So far, at least 4 Republicans are in the race for the GOP nomination to challenge Tester next year.
Not so fast, though. Another Republican today says he's running to unseat Democrat Jon Tester. And if you don't vote for him, well, his wife is running as well. James Dean, an Air Force veteran and financial advisor who lives in Havre, has announced he's running for the Senate as a Republican. His wife, Sarah, is also running, but as a Democrat. James Dean telling MTN News they both believe reforming the nation's banking system is a path toward solving many of the nation's problems. He says they're running for different parties so they can reach voters with all types of political beliefs. For the 38-year-old Dean, it's his first run at political office. He's now one of 5 Republicans vying to challenge Tester next year. Plus, there is a 6th Republican, we're told, still considering it.
President Trump issued new rules today, allowing more employers to opt out of providing health insurance that includes contraceptive coverage. Those employers can instead claim religious or moral objections. Weijia Zhang reports.
President Trump issued a set of new rules that allows employers to opt out of providing certain contraception coverage to women if they object on moral or religious grounds.
The president believes that the freedom to practice one's faith is a fundamental right in this country, and I think all of us do, and that's all that today was about.
The Trump administration says the Obamacare mandate violates employers' freedom of religion.
This is a president who supports the First Amendment, supports the freedom of religion. I don't understand why that should be an issue.
Gretchen Borchardt with the National Women's Law Center says the Trump rules are a blow for women's health and rights.
It's really prioritizing a certain religious view about contraception over a woman's own personal beliefs and her views about what's right for her and her body.
She says her organization will join others in suing the Trump administration.
To take this away from women while not changing the other care that men receive is really an attack on women. That's discrimination, pure and simple.
An Obama administration study showed more than 55 million women accessed free birth control because of the contraceptive coverage mandate. The new regulations could end that coverage for hundreds of thousands of women. Weijia Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
And those new rules will take effect as soon as they are on display at the Office of the Federal Register.
Investigators are working tirelessly to try to figure out what caused a gunman to open fire on a crowd of concert goers last Sunday in Las Vegas. But 5 days later, they still don't have any answers.
The gunman's reclusive personality is making the task even more difficult. Danielle Nottingham has the latest.
Investigators have run down more than 1,000 leads, trying to determine what motivated a wealthy retiree to gun down 58 concert goers and wound hundreds more in Las Vegas Sunday night.
We will not stop until we have the truth.
The truth is elusive in this case. 64-year-old Stephen Paddock did not leave a note. The high-stakes gambler was not down on his luck, and investigators say finances were not a motivation in the attack. Sources tell CBS News Paddock's arsenal of weapons was worth more than $50,000.
These kinds of individuals don't do things randomly. And so this is a deliberate attack, a deliberate target, and an intended outcome.
Investigators say Paddock's girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, continues to cooperate with the FBI. Police are looking for anyone with information that might help the case.
I am 100% confident there was not a second shooter in the room. But I cannot give you the same level of confidence that nobody knew about this.
While investigators are unraveling the mystery, the public is trying to heal.
It's just awful what's happened to these people, this country. We've just got to come together and find some peace.
The Vegas community is hoping this green space can help. It started as a pop-up garden sketched out on a napkin. There is now one tree planted for each of the deceased victims and a remembrance wall for notes of love. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News.
The FBI and Las Vegas police are launching a billboard campaign in the city with the slogan, "If you know something, say something."
On to the weather scene now as New Orleans braces for yet another big storm this weekend. Q2's Bob McGuire here to fill us in on what's now Hurricane Nate.
Yeah, you guys might remember yesterday we talked about Tropical Storm Nate. It has now made its way into the Gulf of Mexico, where just a little while ago it became Hurricane Nate. You can see it right here, and it's getting to be a pretty good sized storm in aerial coverage. And look at that, it's heading right north. So let me show you what the path is. According to the computer models, here you go. Here's Nate at 75-mile-per-hour winds right now, and it's pretty big. It's continuing to make its way right up towards the New Orleans area. And you'll notice this time, though, instead of going right through New Orleans, it looks like it's going to slide a little bit farther to the east, but it's still going to be a Category 1 hurricane when it makes its way onshore with 85-mile-per-hour winds. From there, it goes to Washington, D.C., and eventually into New York City as just a low-pressure cell with 30-mile-per-hour winds then. But for us, it's nowhere near us, but we have our own cold front to talk about. We'll have more on that coming your way in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Up next on your Friday night 10 o'clock news, the Nobel Peace Prize adds another name to its list of recipients. We'll find out who.
And later in sports tonight, we check in on the AA's marquee matchup between the Bears and the Bruins at Dallas.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire and sports with Scott Green.